So what do you do when you get back into Planet Zoo? Continue building on your existing projects? Of course not. You burn everything to the ground and then start over again. So that's what we're doing today. We're starting over. So for today's Planet Zoo speed build, we're building a modern entrance, maybe even a slightly futuristic entrance, but definitely I'm going to try and make it a realistic entrance. Although it might end up looking like a UFO, but an amazing UFO. Alright, so it has been quite some time since I last opened up Planet Zoo. It has been even longer since I last made a Planet Zoo speed build video. And then to come back, open up Planet Zoo, and immediately go, let's trash eZoo, let's start a new project, let's start a new zoo, let's start off with the entrance, this modern futuristic entrance that we're building today. I should probably explain my reasoning for that course of action, which is, to put it simply and to put it shortly, I can make eZoo 1,000 times better. I can make a zoo that's 100 times better than eZoo. Because I spent some time building in Prehistoric Kingdom, obtained some skills from that, and then looked at eZoo, saw 1,000 mistakes, saw so many potential of detailing and such that I didn't go into. And so I decided, yes, I could redo every habitat, every build in eZoo, or I could just make it simple for myself and restart the entire project. So that's what Naturalis is basically going to be. It's eZoo 2.0. It's like the successor to eZoo, but I also want to make it its own thing. So that's the entire reasoning. Let's get into the actual building of this entrance. Let's start talking about this modern, futuristic, and slightly realistic entrance. Although I'm definitely going to name it the UFO from now on. Like, there's some buildings that like you just see and it's just like, yeah, I know why the architect wanted to go with that, but it really looks like this, so it's going to get this as a nickname. And yes, I did not realize until I finished this build that it looked like a UFO about to take off. I mean, it's a very simple shape, which is what I wanted. I wanted to just have something simplistic because the eZoo entrance was kind of clunky. But when it came to this build, it was just like, oh, I saw this reference picture, I wanted to try it. It was just this glass dome with this sort of metal brim or metal ring around it. Let's try that. Let's add some features, like I changed the supports or the pillars for it, which I really ended up liking because in the original reference picture it was more closed off and I wanted it to be really open. And it was something that I should probably add, but in the original reference picture there is this sort of metal, or I'm saying metal, it's probably metal, but I don't know for sure, but there was this sort of strip that goes over the entire building, which I should probably add just to make it look less like a UFO about to take off. But yes, it's a glass dome, metal brim around it, looking like it's about to take off because, of course, to make it fancy, put it on an angle. That's just logic when it comes to buildings. If you want to make it fancy, put it at a ridiculous angle and it looks fancy. But yeah, in the end, because it's just like it's a ball basically in the center and then the metal brim around it, it looks like a UFO. It looks like a very fancy UFO, but it looks like a UFO, and I'm very happy with it because it just has some kind of hold on my soul now. Maybe it's mostly just the supports. Like, again, in the end, it's just a very simplistic design. At least for me, it's simplistic. I know I'm saying it like, oh, it's very simplistic and easy, and then there's a lot of people who are just like, bitch, you call this easy? But, I mean, coming from a guy who has played Planet Zoo ever since it released, played Prehistoric Kingdom, played Planet Coaster for basically, I think, 2-3 years. Yes, this is an easy design for me. Doesn't mean that it needs to be an easy design for you, but for me it is. But then, this is YouTube, this is social media, you're going to see the best things and you're not going to see the million mistakes. Like, I actually had an entire building set in eZoo, like I was still holding on to eZoo. I built an entire demon bird habitat or cassowary habitat and it looked great. I didn't like it and it was just like, it took so much longer than it actually needed because it was just like, alright, how do I do this? How do I do this? And then when it came to actually this build, there was a building that I wanted to build and then I built it and it didn't look great. It didn't work. My brain was just like, how the hell do I make this? So there's a lot of things that I will just cut out because, I mean, it's social media. You show the best parts and not the parts where you mess up. So yeah, don't look at this building and think like, oh yeah, this is like built, well actually it's built in 6 hours. I have the recordings, it's actually built in 6 hours, like this entire build, but yeah, don't feel bad about yourself if you're looking at this and thinking like, I can never build like this. I'm just going to be honest, you probably won't, because you probably have a life. I don't. That sounds very sad, but like, I dedicate probably more time to this build than a normal person or a regular person would, because, you know, work, social life and such. I also have the incentive to make videos, so of course I will put some extra time into things. But anyways, to talk a bit more about the actual building. So now we're building the ticket booths. We're moving on from the UFO and we're talking ticket booths. Because I basically just, when I started building this entrance, I went onto Google Maps and just plopped myself down at zoo entrances. And just looked, what is there? What do I need? What is like a necessity for a zoo entrance? And of course, ticket booths. There's also something later down in the video that needs to be there. There's something that needs to be there, but I didn't build because it messed up the entire vibe of the building. So yes, this is still a looks over substance or looks over functionality kind of project. But when it came to the ticket booths, I was just thinking, I already made these things. Like, I made something similar for Eve Zoo, but let's see how far I can push it. Now, I can't obviously get the amount of detail that I put into a build in Prehistoric Kingdom because we don't have the rescaling tool in Planet Zoo, but I can make a computer or something that looks like a computer. It's basically just a flat board that is supposed to imitate a keyboard, but I don't think I can get like individual keys on the keyboard. I think that's too much for Planet Zoo. Also, I don't want this zoo or this project to turn into a slot 5 project or 5 episodes in. So yes, there are some limitations to what I can build in Planet Zoo, but it was really just fun to just get back into Planet Zoo. And yes, I tried rescaling a lot of glass plane or panes. Yeah, rescaling glass planes, that's a good thing to do. But I tried rescaling glass panes because I had, again, just come out from Prehistoric Kingdom and I was just thinking like, oh yeah, this glass, it looks great. Let's just stretch it out. Oh wait, you can't do that in Planet Zoo. Oh god. Now I will have edges in my window that I don't want. I mean, again, when it comes to Prehistoric Kingdom, one of the biggest tools I would say is just the rescaling tool. It makes things so much easier. You can make so much detail. But the fun thing about Planet Zoo compared to that is because there is a limit. When it comes to having like unlimited boundary or not, well, unlimited boundaries is kind of, it works against each other. But because you have limits in Planet Zoo, it actually is kind of easier on the brain to build in Planet Zoo. Because of those limits, you kind of, like, you already throw away a lot of ideas. But because in Prehistoric Kingdom it's unlimited, you have 1,000 ideas and you have to choose and make 1,000 decisions, which actually strains the brain a bit. So it's actually kind of fun to go back into Planet Zoo just because of those limits. But yeah, when it came to the ticket booths, as I said, made them already. Although I think I forgot to place a door on the Eve Zoo ticket booths. So those people who are handling the tickets or the information or whatever, they are just kind of stuck there. Just have that mental image of just being in your office and suddenly the doors and the windows get removed. You will feel like you're a sim, and then you will probably scream and just start banging the walls. Especially if you have a job that sucks. You just find yourself in your office and the doors and the windows and everything just goes away. And it's just like, alright, I think I'm stuck here for life. And it's probably not going to last long because I don't think humans can survive for more than 3 days without water. Unless you have a water cooler in your office, but then that water cooler also eventually runs out. Now I'm just thinking of Bear Grylls, and I don't think we want to go there with drinking your own urine. Although eventually that's also going to run out because there's nothing replenishing the water that... Let's just move on, alright? Anyway, now we're building some metal framing for lights. Because when it came to Eve Zoo, I put the lights in like just in the structure itself. But when it came to Naturalis and when it came to the UFO or the modern futuristic entrance, yeah, we're going to name it the UFO. But I wanted the lights to be on a framing inside of the dome, so that it's not on like the metal brim or ring around it, but just have it as a sort of separate thing inside the dome. Just because I could then also do something more fancy and more futuristic hipsters wet dream thing with it, because conservation pack, I wanted those lights. Like when it came to the conversation pack, I maybe should buy that one just because I'm such a social inept person. But when it comes to the conservation, not conversation, but conservation pack, I didn't really care about the animals. Actually, when it came to the pack, I kind of forgot that it existed. I mean, I have an excuse. I was playing Prehistoric Kingdom, then I moved into Dinkum, which you might see the effects of in today's video, because Dinkum just let me be completely free and fabulous when it came to editing, even though it doesn't do as well, which I don't mind because it's just training for me to get even more chaotic when it comes to editing. But I didn't realize, oh, the conservation pack is out. Oh, maybe I should do something with this. No, let's continue building a Prehistoric Kingdom and let's continue being harassed by demon birds in Dinkum. But yeah, when it came to the conservation pack, the main reason that I bought it eventually was the lights and the plants. Like, I don't really care about the animals too much or the other features that were added with the pack. It was just like, I need those lamps. I need those plants. That's all. Nothing else. So yeah, well actually I need those lights, those plants, and the planks, as I've used those a lot in this build. But yeah, when it comes to the lights, it was just like, again, hipster's wet dream was just, I wanted something that looked very sort of more natural or cozy and homely compared to the just metal glass UFO that the entire entrance is made up with. And then the carts, or the parking carts, because as I said, when it came to this entrance, the first thing that I did was put myself at the entrances of multiple zoos. Which, luckily there's Google Maps, because I don't want to drive to multiple zoos just taking pictures of their entrances, which would probably be very creepy. If you really think about it, to just have some dude show up at your entrance and take pictures and not actually go into your zoo. But yeah, thanks for Google Maps. But the one thing that I saw with multiple zoos was just like parking carts, or that you could buy like entrance tickets digitally there. So when it came to the parking carts or ticket machines that I wanted to build, the first thing that I thought was, let's make this accessible to everyone. So I want to point out a comment, I'm probably going to put it on the screen somewhere, that someone put when it came to accessibility for people in, let's say, wheelchairs or who have lower mobility or have other disabilities. I really enjoy seeing those comments, because they did say like, oh, when it comes to how you talk about those things, there are some things that you could improve upon, which I completely agree on. Because they pointed out like, oh, there's the translation, of course, from Dutch to English that I have to do with my videos, because I'm Dutch, so my brain just 90% of the time thinks in Dutch, so I know the Dutch words, but then I don't know the English words, so it's like kind of rough translation sometimes. Although that shouldn't really be an excuse, I should probably just take my time to also learn just all of the proper words and such. But it really helps to have those comments pointing that out. And then there's also the thing that I will have to admit, I'm just complete ignorant when it comes to accessibility and such. I have never struggled with any disability or like impeded mobility or of any kind. So a lot of the times it's just like, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I hope that I took some information correctly, but there's a lot of times where I need to learn things. I am ignorant, and so whenever I see comments that point out like, oh, this is actually better than what you did, or you should probably say it like that, that really helps me a lot. I'm trying to also find like YouTubers that show like the ways of like dealing with so my brain just completely flatlined, I think, there. I'm really sorry. This is like a very serious topic, and my brain was just like, I think we all have that sometimes, where you just have a brain fart and your brain just stops. But yeah, when it comes to disabilities, I'm trying to learn stuff, but I am ignorant. I've never struggled with anything, so I want to make it as good as possible, but I also know I don't know enough. So if you ever see one of my videos and see like, oh, he's talking about disabilities, but he's maybe talking in it the wrong, or talking about it the wrong way, or he's building things the wrong way, please point it out to me, because I'm very happy to learn and to understand things from your perspective and also make things better, maybe improve things on that build in another episode, because I probably won't be able to. I mean, if you see it, then the episode's already out and it's already built. But yeah, please keep those comments coming. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And now let's see the UFO in all its glory. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.